Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Spotlight Sessions. Today I'm really excited to be interviewing Rachel Herman, who's the founder and executive director of PAWS New York. How are you doing, Rachel?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Epic. So Rachel, me and you kind of have worked together. You've worked with my colleague Sheldon, but I'd love to know a little bit about yourself, your story, and personally, professionally, kind of tell us.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called PAWS New York. And PAWS is an acronym. It stands for Pets Are Wonderful Support. I am an animal lover, and I feel very fortunate that over the last 13 or so years, I've been able to kind of dedicate my time to something I'm really passionate about. Um, I'll kind of give you, I've loved animals my entire life. Never thought I would be lucky enough to actually have a career where I could help them every day. You think about the
Hmm.
sort of typical jobs, being a veterinarian, and that didn't really feel like the right path for me. And I was living in New York City, and I grew up not too far outside the city, so I'm a New Yorker. And I was, in grad school, I was walking to class every day, and there was a young homeless couple and their dog outside of a grocery store. And homeless shelters don't allow pets. And so I realized this family was sacrificing a warm bed at night because of the strong love that they had for their animal. And I found that to be incredibly heartbreaking. I thought about um, what other people live in New York City, have pets, love them so much and benefit from that relationship, but who are maybe struggling on a day-to-day basis with providing care. And so I immediately started to think about older adults and individuals in our city who are living with other obstacles like having a disability or suffering from an illness. And I thought, how difficult could it be to take care of your animal and what that might mean. And so I did some research and I really couldn't identify another organization that existed in New York City that provided the kind of assistance that I had in mind, which was, really providing day-to-day physical assistance um, to ensure that these pets could remain at home with the people who love them. And, it's been about 13 years and we've been growing, but, our goal is to basically do everything we can to make sure that pet can stay at home with that person. We send volunteers in for dog walking, cat care. We donate pet food. We help cover the cost of vet care. When a client is facing like a medical crisis or a hospitalization, we'll make sure um, that their pet is taken care of so they can go focus on their own health and well-being, and then we'll reunite them. So again, it's really a kind of we take a comprehensive approach to eliminating these obstacles that New Yorkers are facing. um, so yeah, I'm really excited to kind of get to wake up each day and do this work and get to work with animals and also help people at the same time, which is a really unique combination.
Wow, that's a really amazing mission. Like I think my personal life and my home life, we've had a dog at home for the past 4 years, and I can say
Mhm.
how much it's really enriched all of our lives, like having her in the house and also thinking
Mhm.
about your approach to people care through animal care. I'd be really interested, do you work with kind of guide dog organizations or like what does that look like? Because I've never really thought of it of, yes, we have an animal at home that gives us a lot of love and care, but then also caring for that animal comes with some sort of privilege as well.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And, for a person who isn't facing any kind of physical obstacle to caring for their pet, you might not think twice about it. But even something as simple as putting out food and water can be um, a challenge for somebody. And, we partner with organizations around the city who serve the same demographic. We actually do have quite a few clients who have visual impairment. There is a building in New York City that is, it provides services to blind and visually impaired individuals. And we connected with one person years ago, and sort of just by word of mouth, those clients talking to their friends and telling them about the service we were providing, it really grew our presence in that particular building. Um, but yeah, so again, like I said, we focus on, in terms of client sourcing, finding organizations where we feel they might already be working with clients who need our help, and introducing ourselves, what our programs are, and how we can help. And that's how a majority of our clients come to us, is through these referrals from these partner organizations that have identified a need for the clients that they're serving, and we, you know, ideally can come in and meet that need, whereas other organizations might not be able to do that specifically.
Wow, that's really incredible. And you kind of mentioned a little bit in your previous answer, but I'm really interested in kind of your role as founder and executive director. What does a day in the life look like? How big is your team? Is it volunteer based? Is it not volunteer based? Kind of really interested in that structure as well.
Yeah. Well, I will say that my day looks very different than it did 18 months ago pre-pandemic. I have two young kids, and so it has been a very crazy time. So, I'm still working from home, so I do get lots of interruptions from my younger daughter. My older one's at school, but uh, I do a lot of different things. We are a small organization. We have 6 full-time staff members, but we do have over 3,000 volunteers throughout the city.
Wow.
So the physical services are provided all by volunteers. So we have volunteers all around the 5 boroughs who work with us. They get matched with a client and they sign up for a shift. So, for example, they're working with, Mr. Jones on Monday at 6 p.m. to walk his dog. That's every single Monday night at 6 p.m. to walk that dog, ideally for a minimum of 6 months. It's very important. We try to emphasize to volunteers that consistency and reliability is really important to our client base. You know, it's not just a drop in when you can kind of thing, that our clients rely on us. We need to set up a schedule and they need to know who's coming and when. So we fill the schedules based on the client's need. And we have the best volunteers. I mean, it's incredible. I think
Sure.
why what sets us apart is that human element. People are often searching for pet related opportunities, and there are tons of amazing organizations to get involved with, going into a shelter, walking dogs, socializing cats. But then I think when they see our opportunity alongside the others, they see that there's this human element as well that's there. And you don't really have the guilt of, oh, I'm leaving the shelter and I wish I could take home all the animals, but I can't. Here, you drop your dog right back off at home, knowing that that dog is with somebody that he or she loves, and that the person loves them too. And it's a really nice way of knowing that you're keeping a family together. And then the sort of secondary benefit is these amazing relationships that form between the volunteers and the clients. And there's just reducing isolation and this added companionship that I never honestly thought about. But yeah, so to get back to your original question, our volunteers are doing the in-home physical assistance. As far as what my day looks like, we're still a small team. I spend a lot of my time fundraising. We're lucky enough that we brought on a development manager last year, so he does a lot of the individual giving
Mhm.
cultivation, but I do all the grant writing. I do a lot of work with my board of directors, strategic planning, and because we are small, I kind of have my hands in a little bit of everything. I also am, HR and IT and finance and all the things that, we're too small to kind of have it, like full-time people to do. So it's um, a lot of managing multiple projects at once, but that's also what makes it really exciting and fun.
And I was really interested in what you said about the number of volunteers, because if you're 6 full-time staff and you have 3,000 volunteers, how did you manage to get so many volunteers? Because your story is incredible, but that ripple effect must have been massive.
Yeah, it's so funny because, and funny is not even the right word, but I've always just been amazed at the interest of New Yorkers to volunteer. It's been relatively easy since the beginning. We do 2 orientation sessions a month. They are now all virtual. We may eventually go back to some hybrid, some in person, some virtual, but um, you know, we we try to give volunteers as much flexibility as they can. people are busy, you might have a full-time job, you might have a family, whatever is going on in your life, all of those things are really important. But if you can carve out just one, 30-minute shift a week, that would mean everything to the client and to the pet that you're helping. And I think what keeps our volunteers going back is sort of, as I said before, that relationship that they end up developing with the human client, which I don't think they're expecting when they first show up that day. But we're finding that I think that relationship is then what causes that volunteer to tell their colleague about it, tell their
Absolutely.
cousin about it, tell, whoever it is that they know, it's now word of mouth and a much more organic kind of growth. So in the early days, it was a lot of people looking specifically for opportunities. And over time, it's now much more, I heard about this from somebody I know and I want to get involved, which is great.
And I love that. And also looking from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant to get people to to want to come straight to you and about hearing about you as well and creating that ripple effect. And I love what
Yeah.
you said about the person element because it's really you can find volunteering opportunities with people, you can find volunteering opportunities with pets, but to find volunteering opportunities with both is
Hmm.
very powerful.
Yeah.
And Rachel, I'd love to. I always like to ask this question because it's very broad and very every person's definition is different. But what's your definition of accessibility, and what does accessibility mean to you as well?
So that's a great question. It is broad, but for me, I'm coming from accessibility. I'm looking at it from the perspective of my organization. We provide services to people who are facing physical obstacles, and physical obstacles actually for us is very broad because it could be maybe you have some sort of mental issue going on and it's impacting your ability to provide physical assistance. So we're very broad in terms of how we identify it. And for me, I want to make sure that anybody who may need our services can find us, can access our website, can figure out how to get in touch with us so we can make sure that they get the help they need to stay together with their pets. And so, we're always trying to think creatively as a team about how can we spread the word about what we're doing and think about the different populations that we are attempting to serve and how we can get into those communities so that our services can get there as well. And like I said to you sort of offline before we started recording, but we are so, we were so excited to learn about accessiBe and to be able to make our website one that is accessible is a huge win for us, and I'm like really honored to be a part of this and to have it. And it's um, just something we're really excited about.
Wow. First of all, thank you from a personal perspective, but also really what you said kind of touched me. It's one of the reasons why we started this series in the first place. It's the fact that a lot of people are doing really amazing things, but a lot of people may not necessarily know about it. So,
Yeah.
Pause New York may be something that a listener may now hear about and be like, wow, that's the next place I want to volunteer about because I didn't even know that this social cause um, existed or that I can really get involved in it. So, how does somebody get involved in Pause New York?
So there are a lot of ways. Again, we are a very kind of flexible organization. We want to find opportunities that are right for each individual. We are small, so funding is always needed. So if somebody has the means and wants to make a contribution, that's always appreciated. But like I said, we have 3,000 volunteers, and I want to make sure I'm clear that that doesn't not mean we don't need more. We need tons of volunteers. Like for example, you have one client with one dog, that could be upwards of 14 different volunteers in a week
Wow.
to ensure that that dog's needs are met. And so we just the nature of what we do requires a ton of human resources. And so we are really looking to grow in the outer boroughs of New York City. We're still in Manhattan and doing a great job there, so we need volunteers everywhere. But if anybody has a free 30-minute, time window in your week and you like animals, like please, our website is pawsny.org, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our handle is at PAWS NY. And we really look to try and build a community, and we do that with our volunteers as well, because otherwise you feel like you're in a silo and you're just kind of doing your assignment and you don't know anybody else. So we work really hard to create a community for our volunteers so that they don't just connect with the person and the pet, but they connect with us, they connect with other volunteers, and we can really do our part in keeping people with us for as long as possible and allowing them to enjoy it as best they can.
Amazing, Rachel, and I think that's a really great closing message. Unfortunately, I'm not based out of New York at just this moment, but if I
Yeah.
was there, I would definitely be volunteering and getting in touch with PAWS New York. Rachel, I wanted to really thank you for coming on the show and kind of sharing your story. It's something that personally means a lot to me, but I know that will mean a lot to a lot of the listeners out there. So thank you, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much. And thank you for the amazing work you're doing.
All right. Speak
Thank you.
soon.
Okay. Bye.